Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will be discussing about 1 year of end of special status of Jammu and Kashmir and what has changed during this 1 year. It was on this day last year that the decision to abolish applicability of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir was announced. Article 370, a controversial provision in the Indian Constitution, granted a host of special privileges to Jammu and Kashmir not available to any other state or union territory of the country. The central government had said that the decision to abolish this special status was aimed at ushering in peace and development in Jammu and Kashmir, which has been reeling under Pakistan-sponsored terrorism for over 30 years. On the first anniversary of the landmark decision, we will discuss in the agenda today about what has changed in Jammu and Kashmir in the last 1 year. We have with us Dr. S.P. Vaid, former Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, who will give us his valued assessment about the situation. Dr. Vaid has dealt with terrorism situation in Jammu and Kashmir in various capacities, and even after his retirement, he closely follows the developments there. But before we welcome our special guest and start conversation, let us have a look at this small report.
Exactly 1 year back on this day, the central government took a landmark decision to change the landscape and character of Jammu and Kashmir. Its special status, granted under Article 370 of the Constitution, was scrapped after over 7 decades, and the state was bifurcated into 2 union territories, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Union Territory of Ladakh. Along with the decision, strict restrictions were imposed in Jammu and Kashmir, and many political leaders and activists were put under detention to prevent them from fueling unrest over the issue. Telecommunication networks were also suspended for weeks to prevent antisocial and anti-national elements from provoking people to violence. The restrictions were later eased gradually, and most of the detained leaders were also released. Article 370 gave several special rights and privileges to Jammu and Kashmir and prevented application of many national laws and rules in the erstwhile state. It prevented complete integration of Jammu and Kashmir with the rest of the country. Over the decades, it was used as an emotional tool by political parties for their electoral gains, and this competition bred the feeling of separatism among a section of the populace. Abolition of the special status of Jammu and Kashmir was one of the main poll planks of BJP for over 3 decades. The Modi government took the decision notwithstanding threats issued even by leaders of mainstream political parties like National Conference and People's Democratic Party that there would be bloodshed if this provision was tampered with. In fact, these two regional political parties had been demanding strengthening of Article 370, which had already been diluted over the decades. The Modi government, while ending the special status, had asserted that it was required to usher in peace and development of Jammu and Kashmir, where Pakistan-sponsored terrorism has caused all-round disruption and destruction. The government insisted that Jammu and Kashmir had failed to witness development as per its potential because of Article 370. The government now says that since the abolition of Article 370, a lot of development has taken place and terror activities have come down substantially in Jammu and Kashmir. But critics are questioning the continued detention of some political leaders and continued suspension of 4G services there. As 1 year without special status has been completed, it is hoped that the situation will continue to improve in Jammu and Kashmir and political process will resume at the earliest. Bureau Report.
So let's welcome Dr. Vaid. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
So how do you see the situation 1 year after the abrogation of Article 370?
See, since last 1 year, not no major law and order situation happened. Stone pelting incidents have come down drastically. The terrorist incidents have fallen down by 30-40%. Then infiltration has come down. Recruitment of local terrorists has reduced. The Hurriyat is in disarray. So all these things put together are indicators of a better law and order situation after last year's 5th August this year. The Hawala money which was coming from across, I think the grips have been tightened. The Hurriyat leadership is under investigation by NIA. So overall, ground situation is indicative of much better situation. But there are certain grey areas which we need to take care of.
So as you said that stone pelting incidents have reduced, terror incidents have come down, and Hurriyat is under control or tamed. But why were these things not happening earlier when it was a state enjoying 370 special status?
Because the Hawala money was coming freely. This was being paid to the stone pelters. So now NIA, which came during my tenure as DGP in the state of J&K, and it is registered cases against the Hurriyat people. The Hurriyat people are now totally under scrutiny, and this money is not being paid to the stone pelters. Number two, the curbs on the internet have the instigation which was coming from across the border through social media has, because of internet ban, has come down. You know, the people are being denied 4G, but you can't deny a population this basic requirement of today's life, internet. Ultimately, we will have to provide this to the citizen of Jammu and Kashmir. What is needed is a technological solution to filter propaganda from across the border. See, whatever anti-India propaganda that is coming, which is poisoning the minds of young boys to do stone pelting, to do anti-India demonstration, to assemble near encounter sites. Now this has come down, but once 4G is restored, all this will pick up. So you need in long term a technological solution to interject all these which is coming from across.
So are you suggesting that because of non-availability of 4G, these terror incidents or maybe collection of people at encounter sites has reduced? So shall we deduce that it is not because of the end of special status? Maybe it is because of the curbs or the restrictions that were put in place after the end of special status.
See, it should be taken in an overall perspective. That is one aspect of it. But then funding has come down. NIA action has tightened the grip on the Hurriyat. So all these are interlinked. The ISI and Pakistan Army does all its nefarious activities through the Hurriyat and paying the boys and propagating them, instigating them, making them join terrorist ranks, assemble in the encounter sites. So these things, because of curbs, have come down. But another thing which I would like to mention is now the criminal elements know that they have no protection because of removal of 370. Now it is direct rule from Delhi. So their local MLA will not be able to save them from the police or from the law. So naturally it has put fear in their mind. Other thing which now somebody is detained under PSA, he is sent across the state to to other parts of the country, which was not happening before abrogation of Article 370. So that also has a put fear in the minds of criminals.
So, as you mentioned about the direct rule has changed things. So, does it mean, since you have been the police chief, that local politicians often come to the rescue of anti-national, anti-social elements and maybe help in fueling the problem?
See, the politics is an integral part of the administration during democratic system. So the local leaders, local MLA, local block level people, they all have influence on the local police stations and local officers. So they do play a role in saving people who are getting astray and indulging in violence.
If I remember, sir, about the Burhan Wani encounter, in fact, Mehbooba Mufti was the chief minister, and she even after said that he should have been given a chance to surrender. So, are those kinds of statements or maybe gestures which encouraged terrorism?
These things do influence the young mind. There's no doubt about it. Such provocative statements by different political leaders do have an impact, and that is the and police is working, administration is working directly under the LG and indirectly by Ministry of Home Affairs. So now there is no fear on the local officers. So they are able to operate, act independently. So that is a difference which has come with the abrogation of Article 370.
There is also an argument that the suspension of democracy, like assembly and other things, cannot. I mean, it's cannot go on for long. People have to be given the democratic right. So, how much do you agree with this? And also 2G suspension of 4G in JNK, which remains suspended even now.
India is a democracy, so you cannot have this system which is going on today. Ultimately, democratic process has to be initiated. So the political government will come, but there is a requirement of having an institutional system whereby police is authorized to act independently of the political interference. That is need of the hour in a state like Jammu and Kashmir. Then also you need a technological solution of all that is being bombarded on the social media to poison the minds of young Kashmiri boys. I'll give you an example. 4 or 5 days back, an incident happened in Gurgaon where a Muslim boy was being beaten by some criminals for carrying beef. Now, this is a criminal act. No one in the country endorses this. They will be dealt under law as and when the police of that area takes action against them. But such criminal acts are bombarded repeatedly to poison the minds of the young boys, budding minds in Kashmir, that you do not have a secure life in India. So anti-India propaganda by ISI and its stooges from across on the social media does instigate young minds in the valley. There is no doubt about it. So we need to come out with a technical solution to filter this content.
No, what I was talking about, we have a political process when it is started. We have the same bunch of politicians who will again jump into the fray, and possibly since you have dealt with such a situation, so you may possibly have the same situation back. They will again incite people. They will again talk about restoration of 370 and state and other things, isn't it? So how do you see that situation?
These things are part of the political process, but as I was earlier saying, we need, before starting the political process, we need institutional safeguards to prevent again situation going bad to worse, like what it was in earlier political process. So we need to have system whereby police can act without fear and favor, independently, and even people who are nationalists, who have good of Kashmiri people in their minds, who are well wishers of people of Kashmir, should be promoted. Pro India forces should be promoted, and people who create instigations, who play to the sentiments of the people, should be as far as possible discouraged.
As you said, the pro-India people, pro-nationalists should be encouraged. Is it being done? I see so many pro-nationalists in Kashmir, but are they being encouraged enough? I don't think so.
Yes, much needs to be done. I agree with you. In fact, I have seen in last 35 years, the pro-India forces were always were unfortunately never supported by different political dispensations.
And they also live in a state of fear. I mean, that is why they are not able to articulate themselves fully. That fear,
Yes.
atmosphere of fear has to be somehow neutralized, isn't it?
Yes, I agree with you.
Okay, sir. Then I read a report about new provision apparently government is working on for dismissal and or suspension of police officers or administrative officers, even IAS, IPS, if they are found to be anti-national, quote unquote. So, how do you see that move, if it is true?
I think that should be done, because if you are working for the country, you are paid by the country, you are part of the government administration of the country, you can't work against the country. You may have a different, you may have your own opinion, fine, but then you can't work against the country. What was happening? That now I would give you an example. If you provide sport to people who are talking anti-national, and those who pick up national flag are discriminated against, so what kind of message are you sending to the new generation in the valley?
So, as I have noticed in early 90s when terrorism began, there were so many people in the administration or government who used to support terrorism. You have been at the helm. Did you come across people who were supporting covertly terrorism and terrorists or their supporters?
Such elements should be identified and dealt with very strictly. I have no doubt about it.
No, I wanted to ask you, during your career, did you come across such elements and what was the action taken?
Yes, there were elements against whom we had reports. Such reports were being sent from time to time to the concerned people in the government, but then final action rests with the elected government and not with the police chief.
So, how cooperative were the elected governments? I mean, how much action did they take or not take?
They have their own compulsions, they have their own problems. I don't think many people who were identified against whom CID sent reports and they were in any other system, they should have been thrown out of the government, which did not happen.
So, is it a welcome step now if the government is taking that? Maybe they are doing it retrospectively, I guess.
The government should do. Present government has no problem. They should. If it doesn't happen now, when will it happen?
Okay, sir, let me talk about Pakistan. Now, Pakistan has come out with so-called map, political map, which includes J&K. How do you see that act?
I didn't see that map. What is it about?
No, Pakistan has come out with a map which shows J&K as part of Pakistan and whatever. So,
How does it matter? Let them show all India part of Pakistan. It doesn't matter. They have no bloody stake in. In fact, they are illegally occupying our part of Kashmir, which now next is our target. The POK has to be liberated from them.
so I mean, infiltration is, I guess, still there are infiltration attempts are still being made. So, do you
Yes.
think FATF, which is closely monitoring Pakistan, has made any dent on Pakistan's actions vis-a-vis Kashmir?
It has an impact, no doubt, because last 1 year, Pakistan has been going around all over the world shouting about abrogation of 370 and all those actions which government of India took against it. But truth cannot be hidden. The whole world knows Pakistan is sponsoring cross-border terrorism. So no one supported them excepting North Korea and China, who are their all-weather
Turkey also.
friends. Turkey. So it doesn't matter because all these nations are autocratic themselves. The rest of the world does not support them. Even their earlier friends like Saudi Arabia, UAE are with India today.
No, I meant to ask on the ground, if you take the situation on the ground in J&K, has that had an impact that FATF is monitoring?
The only thing is, I would say, they are not able to successfully infiltrate. They are making attempts. FATF has an impact on their own internal situation, but not on infiltration and these things.
So we are running out of time. Thank you for participating and giving your valued assessment about the situation. This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I will be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.